Hey guys, it's Queen Auset-Heru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, pass it on to somebody else who might like it, and if you have time, please drop us a positive comment in the comment section. And stick around to the end of the video because I have two comments and one of them could be yours that I'm going to read at the end of this video. All right, so let's talk about something that some of my Aquarius have been struggling with. I am in the middle of working on a collaboration. As long as I've been a YouTuber, I have never done a collaboration with another YouTuber. I have been open to it in one occasion, and considered it in like 4 or 5, but I never actually did it. Now, the other day, this young man came to me, and this young man was born on the same day that I was born, 10 years after me. And I love this young man. I'm so delighted with this young man. It cracks me up. He's married. He has beautiful children. I love him. I just love him to death. I love his videos. He's really cool. So you're going to get a chance in part 2 to meet this young man and see that he and I are going to continue what you and I talk about today in that video. So these videos are about apologizing. And the reason why we're doing this is because a lot of Aquarius have said to me that they have a real issue with apologizing. And it's not always what you might think. So he said to me, he got into a very hairy situation with his wife. And he needed to apologize. I don't think he apologized correctly, or he tried and it didn't come out right. So he wants me to teach him how to correctly apologize. So that's going to be in part 2. You're going to get a chance to meet him and watch as we discuss how an Aquarius can apologize, specifically an Aquarius. So I wanted to talk to my Aquarius who struggle in this area, or people who love an Aquarius who struggle in this area. Now, many Aquarius have told me that yes, this is true, that they struggle in this area. Why would this be a problem? Well, let's talk about the 2 main reasons. Number 1, some Aquarius tell me that they have a hard time apologizing because they don't understand what they did wrong. This is a big one. This is the one I heard over and over again. And what they're saying to me is what they did wasn't bad. They're like, I don't understand. What's the problem? Or I did this before and this person didn't have a problem with it. Or I said something and now my foot is in my mouth. I don't understand. So a lot of times the biggest issue with Aquarius is not that they don't want to apologize to other people. It's that they don't even understand what they're apologizing for. This is a problem. Because if you apologize just because the other person is angry, because this is what Aquarius do, especially my men. My Aquarius men have told me this a million times. They said to me, Queen, I don't know what I did, but I know she mad and I did something. So I just apologize so we won't have, negative energy and we can move on. And I'm like, not good. Because number 1, if you apologize without knowing what you're apologizing for, that means that you are doomed to repeat that behavior because you don't know what you did. If I come into your house every day and I call you a nickname, for example, and you hate this nickname, okay? But you never say anything to me about it. You just continuously hate this nickname that I called you. I'm never going to know that you didn't like the nickname unless I'm tapping into the intuitive part, which may or may not happen. Aquarius are very intuitive, but sometimes we're not on the planet with the rest of us. Sometimes we're up in our thoughts and we don't notice certain things. And this is a big problem, especially in this kind of situation. So a lot of Aquarius will tell me, I just apologized. So I'm like, no, the first thing you need to do is understand what you did. And this might take a little bit of time because the other person might be tired of telling you. They might have told you 1,000 times and you just not getting it through your head that this is a problem. So first and foremost, you have to get what the problem is. Don't ever apologize to someone without knowing exactly what you did. Otherwise, like I said, chances are you're going to do the same thing or something similar. So the first thing Aquarius tell me is they don't always understand what is the problem. So you need to find out. You need to ask that person, and you need to keep asking that person. You need to keep on trying to figure it out, journaling, soul searching, whatever you got to do until you have a very clear understanding of exactly what it was that you did that upset this person. So for a lot of Aquarius, if they don't understand, they just don't apologize, or they just say any old thing, any old apology to get them out of it. And a person can tell when you're just saying any old thing to get out of it. A person can also tell when you're not apologizing because you really don't care to know, or you don't know what the problem is. If you don't find out what the problem is, the other person will often read that as you don't care to find out. So Aquarius, find out exactly what it was. The other thing that some Aquarius tell me is that emotionally they get tongue-tied. For me, this has been a problem. There have been cases when I knew I was wrong. And this isn't recently. This would be like, I would say when I was younger, before I had all this self, awareness. I hadn't figured this out yet, quite frankly. So when I was younger and I hadn't figured this out, there was times when I knew I was wrong and I knew I needed to apologize, but emotionally speaking, I wasn't mature enough to make the apology. I just didn't, I didn't want to go through the emotional, because a lot of times with Aquarius, we don't like having to go through emotional hassles unless they're inevitable. We have no choice, but you can't get around them, basically. So there was times when I couldn't get around it and I just had to apologize. But a lot of times, if it was too emotionally uncomfortable, I wouldn't do it. And it wasn't because I didn't think I was wrong. It was because emotionally speaking, I wasn't mature enough to make the apology. So it was like painful and I don't want to talk about it. And an Aquarius who's in that situation is more likely to just stay away from you than make the apology. You see? Because emotionally they're agonizing over it. They don't really know what to say, and they're not really being mature and taking accountability and responsibility for what they did. So all of this piles into a snowball and they end up not apologizing. And then people say to me, oh, this Aquarius didn't care about me, or this Aquarius was an asshole because they did this. And when I get into the conversation, deep into it, I find that the Aquarius was basically emotionally tongue-tied. We get very emotionally tongue-tied when we're in that state. So instead of just saying anything, I can't tell you how many times instead of just apologizing, I just walked away from the friendship. It wasn't until I got older that I was like, you know what, I'm going to talk my way through. Even if the relationship doesn't last or if it doesn't work, whatever, at least I talked my way through it. So a lot of times that's what I'll do now. But when I was younger, I couldn't do that. I didn't know how to do it. It took, accountability. It took healing. It took skills, coping mechanisms, learning. It took a lot of things like that before I was able to do it. So if your Aquarius is in one of those two spaces, that is probably why they're not apologizing. That is not an excuse, because they still need to apologize. They need to figure out what the problem is, and they need to work through their own emotions, their own guilt, their own shame, their own tongue-tiedness, whatever it is, their own whatever is keeping them emotionally stuck. They need to work through it and give you the apology that you deserve. So if they're not willing to do that, then I wouldn't even maintain the friendship. If the person wasn't willing, I wouldn't even maintain it, or I would keep on talking until we came to some kind of a stable ground. So those are two reasons why Aquarius sometimes have a hard time apologizing. Now, if you have any other reasons that you want to tell me, please drop them in the comments section, because when I do part 2, in my collaboration, I may be able to add that information into the collab. So again, be looking out for part 2, because in part 2, I'm going to actually teach an Aquarius. I'm going to use a real scenario. I told him I want him to tell me a real thing that has gotten him into trouble with his wife. Something small, nothing major. And we're going to talk about what exactly he did and what is a good way to apologize. And I'm not going to give him a cookie cutter, like every time say this. I'm going to teach him exactly, so I know his emotional intelligence will kick in, and then to be a sincere apology and not him just saying anything. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that. You know I'm going to tell you guys as soon as it's ready. We're still working on it. We're supposed to tape it next week. So probably the week after that, which would be like the week of 20 something, it should be out. So I'm gonna let you guys know when it comes out. I'm gonna tell you guys my first collab. I'm so happy. Now let's talk about some wonderful comments that I found in the comment section. One came from Yvonne Verhoot. Yeah, Verhoot or Varhoot. She says, "We are such rich souls that we like our own company. I love parties too, but love to be alone." Girl, 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 girl. I hear that. I do. I love a good party. I love a good bar. I love a dive bar too. You know, those are always the fun ones. Those uppity bars, you know, they can be okay at times too. I used to go to this sports bar that was a lot of fun, and it had more class to it. But those dive bars, hole in the wall, you know, some of them are where I had the best times. But I do love to be with my own company, and she's right. We're very rich souls in that way. Fatima Abdullah. Fatima said, let's see, lone wolf alert, laugh out loud. By the way, love the story about the bar. Seeing you smile while describing it was heartwarming. Yeah, the bar. That story was about my grandparents. The first time I ever went into a bar was my grandfather's favorite bar. My grandmother used to send me into the bar to get grandpa. And back then was, you know, the 70s. So it was nothing for me to walk in the bar and be like, is my grandpa here? You know? And they'd be like, you over there, you know? And I go over there and jump up and talk to him. And he would buy me a Coca-Cola with a cherry in it. And we would finish our drinks, and then we would go have dinner. Nowadays, if somebody saw that, they would call Child Protective Services and be like, this little kid is in the bar, you know? But it was a different time back then. I mean, things still happen. You had bad things happen to kids all throughout history. But during that time period, nothing like that, it wasn't a problem. You know, it became a problem. It became a problem pretty quickly, but it wasn't really a problem. I would go in there and I would get him every Friday. It wasn't even abnormal to see me walking into the bar, you know? Everybody knew me when I walked in, you know? And it was, and she was talking about how I was smiling because it's one of my more fond memories, actually. I didn't get a chance to know my grandfather in my adult life. He passed over by the time I was 7. So I think back on those memories of sitting there next to him having a drink, you know. I would love to be able to do that now. And it wasn't quite the same because my drink wasn't as strong as his. His was Jack Daniels and Coke, and mine was just Coke. You know, that's it. But it's good to have that memory. I loved my grandparents. My grandparents, to me, could do no wrong. They were amazing people. All right, and we are done. So I'm going to put in, let me see. Oh, it's time for the next video. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to get a reading done, please email me and I will give you an appointment. All of my information is underneath this video. My email, my PayPal, my Patreon page, everything is underneath this video. So if you want more information, please check it out. All right, guys, come back soon because I got a lot more to say. See you later.